Hi guys, how you going? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new, welcome. Today I'm super excited because I just got my new toy, Starlink Mini in particular. So I've been eyeing this for quite some time, and it's got to the point in time in the Australian market where the price was right, half price, can't complain. So ended up picking up for 300 bucks. Again, I'm seeing specials all over the world in relation to it, so you just need to be purchasing it at the right place at the right time. I believe, again, Starlink even are honouring within a certain time period. If you had purchased it at the full price, if you go back, they'll give you sort of an online credit to use in their store. So yeah, I'm super excited to be able to use it. My plans overall are going to be to permanently mount it. I'll say permanently, create a permanent mount on my four-wheel drive. When I go on my four-wheel drive trip, I can use it whilst I'm driving. And yes, with this one, you can use it while you're driving. Apparently you can go up to 160 kilometers per hour or 100 miles per hour with it and still in operation. And basically my plans are, obviously I do a lot of four-wheel drive trips around Australia and locally around Victoria. So I'll be using it quite extensively. This is also going to enable me to be able to work remotely as well. Looking forward to giving that a try. And again, high-speed internet. Like, I mean, I've been running sort of the old broadband at home for quite some time, and this gives me substantially faster speeds. I can't believe it, so I can't wait to try it out. Again, all the general feedback I've received from most people has been overwhelmingly positive. And another reason I bought the Mini 2 is I love to do a lot of backpacking. So again, I'm not sure how that's going to work out, because obviously you've got to carry the power to the juice to keep this thing going. So I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be dual purpose in that it'll tick sort of all the boxes for me. And you can also take this overseas when you go away. So you can also enable, there's like a plan where when you leave your country, you can use it for 2 months overseas. So it's not like you need to go to another country and buy another Starlink in that country. So they allow that as well. I mean, eventually it'll come the time you can just use it anywhere. And obviously that country has to be able to provide that, does provide Starlink already for its existing residents. Anyway, so what I'm going to do today, I'm going to actually take you through the Starlink unit. I'll take you through a few things in particular. We'll have a look at what's in the box, okay? And there ain't much in the box because it's quite a compact unit with, you know, the whole kit and caboodle built in. We're going to look at sort of, you know, how portable actually really is it for its size. We'll have a look at the performance. And again, there's a lot of data out there. I've checked out several websites and YouTube channels and videos and so forth. So I'll give you the lowdown there. Is it really high-speed internet? You know, one of the problems with the larger Starlink unit was you had to stuff around with a router and then powering that and so forth. This actually has the router built into it. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about the power supply and how that all works, and talk a little bit about power consumption and what you need to sort of look out for when using the unit or even preparing for it. So when I basically purchased it, after I'd done all the research, then I went shopping. Then there's a whole heap of other gear that I've purchased in preparation for the Starlink, so I was sort of covered for everything. I've still got a few other little bits and pieces that are on order that are in transit. So some of the stuff will come tomorrow and some of the next few days, but I will cover everything on the channel. We'll talk about durability and where you can use it. You know, can you use it in the rain and the dust and all that sort of thing? So we'll go through that and cover that off nicely. We'll touch on the plans as well. So there's a couple of different plans in there and how it might be useful to structure the plans and how to use it. Yeah, and that'll give you quite a bit of a broad overview. Then there's going to be a whole series of videos on the channel in relation to things like the permanent installation and why I've done it and how I've done it. We'll talk usage, then we'll take it out to the bush and various different locations and go through all the little bits and pieces. And then we'll take the Starlink dish out into the field and show you its true performance and the problems I encounter and other things to look out for when using it sort of out in the field, just to get the most out of it and to make sure you don't lose it or damage it. I've seen all sorts of horror stories in relation to Starlinks going flying off cars. Also Starlinks being projectiles in cars. So you need to apply a bit of common sense here. Don't just think you're going to just drop it on the dash and she'll be fine. So lots to cover. Let's get stuck into it and we'll go from here. All right guys, let's crack her open and have a look. Yeah, so this has been on my wish list for quite some time. It was a little bit expensive to start with, so I thought I'd wait for when the time is right, wait for when my car was sort of set up properly for it, and really work out whether or not I'm going to get the most out of it. And I'm at the point in my life now where I think I can, hence the investment. Alrighty, alright. As per what I thought, going to be very, very minimal. So, go have a look at it. Look how small it is. For comparison's sakes, an A4 sheet of paper. Okay, so it's the same length as an A4 sheet of paper, and about maybe 4 centimetres wider. That's crazy. And this is one of the main reasons that I ended up getting the Mini, was because I do quite a bit of backpacking, and the plan was for me was to be able to take it backpacking as well as utilising on my four-wheel drive. Now, the only other issue with backpacking though is you've got to power this unit. So power supply is another thing that needs to be worked out. But yeah, she's a nice, neat little unit. And the beauty about this thing also is you don't need to worry about the router. So with the other Starlinks, you've got a whole other separate router, then you've got all sorts of different issues with power and whatnot. Whereas this complete unit has the router, everything built into it. And other than a power cable, that's it. That's pretty amazing. Feels pretty solidly built. There's a little bit of weight in it, not too much though. I'll pop it up on the screen there. But yeah, so that's actually just the kickstand. So if you were going to sort of pop it onto just a table, or up onto your bonnet or anything like that, I've got grand plans for this in relation to how I'm going to be doing it. So I want to actually permanently, or when I say permanently, I want to be able to permanently mount it to the car whilst I'm driving. So, and then also the portability to obviously take off for repositioning and to go hiking and whatnot. But we'll go into that a little bit deeper. We'll take, oh okay, there you go. So we'll get this out of the way. All right, so power cable. All right, so with the power cable, all right, so you've got 15 meters of power cable. One of the things to keep in mind with this power cable in particular is that it actually comes with 2 barrel jacks, okay? Some people thought it was a barrel jack at one end and the USB-C at the other end. It is not, it's 2 barrel jacks. And the reason for that is the power brick. So with the power brick, again, there you go. And again, the waterproof rating on this is quite high. Obviously the unit itself is supposed to be in water. This I would not be putting in water, and you'll see also on the back of the unit, if you lift up the kickstand, and then if we run the cable in, it fits in really snug. So that's going to stop any water from sort of ingressing in. And pop that down. And yes, it is waterproof. Okay, we'll go through all the specs a little bit later on, but it is a very well sealed unit, I've got to say. But anyway, we'll pull that out. All right. Now also you'll notice here, there is actually provision for a LAN cable. Now I'm just going to wiggle it out. So it has the same sort of fitting connection, waterproof connection as the power cable. And you can't put a normal conventional LAN plug in there without adapting it. There is a specific waterproof LAN plug that you can purchase for it if you want. But again, I mean, we live in a wireless society now. I dare say the speed you'll get wireless should be good enough and you shouldn't have to worry about the LAN connection. But you can though, that's the thing. Okay. And this little kickstand, you just lift it in the middle and that comes out. Okay. Nice and simple. And then we'll get this stuff out of the way. Regulatory notices for your countries. All right. So then you've got the pole stand, the pole bracket. Okay. So the way this works, again, the same pretty much as the other one. Clicks in place like that. Okay. Nice solid connection. And again, this stuff's plastic. Look, it feels pretty sturdy. It's actually got a metallic ring in here, obviously because this is going to take a bit of load in the wind. This unscrews. So this is for to utilise on a pole. Again, I've probably got no intentions of putting it on a pole. What my plans are is around campsite. I always carry like a camera tripod with me. So I've bought a little device. I've been shopping wildly on Amazon and eBay and AliExpress for bits and pieces for the Starlink. But one of the things that I've purchased is, and again, don't get the cheap and cheerful stuff. This is stainless steel with a metal thread in the middle. That pops in there. You'll tighten that up, right? And then that will be able to then sit onto a tripod. Okay, so yeah, so looking forward to giving that a go, and that should be more than strong enough to make that work. Alrighty, so that's it. That's all that comes in the box. So your cable, your kickstand, your pole mount, the Starlink dish, and the power cable, and the power brick, and that's it. So there's a few other little bits and pieces I advise you to purchase. We'll go through that in a minute. All right. So what we'll now talk about is portability. All right. So one of the main reasons that I obviously went for this is I do a lot of hiking and backpacking, and I'm hoping to be able to take the dish away with me. And I'm talking again, it might be just a weekend hike, it might be overnight hike. I might be planning some big, 1 week, 2 week hikes. The thing is though, you have to power it. So this is the one big concern. And again, when you're doing multi-day hikes, weight is, again, weight comes at a premium. And if you're going to be taking something like this with you, I don't think you would be taking it necessarily on your own for a big multi-day hike, because it just simply weighs too much. Let alone the battery pack you're going to have to carry, let alone solar power to charge the battery pack, because you're not going to get much out of it. Again, if you're going with a group, that might be a different story. One can carry the dish, one can carry a power supply, a battery pack, another one can carry another battery pack, one can carry a little solar panel. So multiple different options there. Realistically, I don't know how portable it is going to be for that. Obviously, it's small enough to load into a suitcase, so if you're traveling, nice and easy. And I mean, for me, my car's fully rigged up with a fixed solar panel. I've got 3 batteries. I've got basically power 24 hours a day wherever I'm going. So for me, especially for working remotely, it's absolutely perfect. For just going out remotely and doing YouTube videos and editing and downloading data and uploading videos and stuff like that, it's perfect. It's super, super portable. And for me in particular, yeah, so I'm working on a permanent mount solution for my car. There's plenty of stuff out in the market, so I might use bits and pieces of stuff that's already out there on the market. And again, I've got my own unique take on the way I want to do it, and there's reasons for it. And again, go check out the channel. There'll be videos on that sort of installation and the reasons why I've done it that way. I've recently just permanently mounted a solar panel to the roof, 200-watt solar panel, and that's been flush mounted into the roof rack. So I can still utilize the entire roof rack, and I want to do something similar with this. So, but yeah, and my understanding is there wasn't much speed difference between the bigger unit versus this one. So for me, yeah, this was a no-brainer. You'll make your own call on it. Go check out the channel when the time comes, and you'll see all the performance videos I've got out there and how it sort of all worked. All right, so that covers portability. All right, so now in relation to the speeds, on the website it says anything from about 50 megabits per second up to about 150. So again, I've trolled the internet high and low. There's so many speed test videos out there. The general consensus from everyone is that it does a bloody good job. Okay, again, around the 100 to 150 tends to be not an issue whatsoever. Obviously, clear sight into the sky. The unit itself does need to be pointed upwards to be able to get the maximum signal. And again, sometimes there's a little bit of playing around in relation to the setup. I'm not going to go into the setup today for it, but obviously there are now thousands upon thousands of Starlink satellites up there, you know, relatively closely spaced. So we're talking very low latency, you know, somewhere between probably 20 and 40 milliseconds. You know, unless you're planning on gaming and worrying about latency and stuff like that, yeah, you know, it might not be up to your par, but for the general run-of-the-mill stuff, uploading stuff, downloading stuff, again, YouTube, Netflix, all that sort of stuff, no issues whatsoever. So it is definitely high-speed internet, and again, especially in Australia, we've got so much remoteness in Australia. To be, you know, I've got a big trip planned in June next year out Central Australia, and we're doing the Beetle Highway and heading up to sort of Uluru and Cooper Pedy and whatnot. Mate, there's no reception out there in the middle of nowhere. To be streaming high-speed internet in the middle of nowhere in me four-wheel drive is just phenomenal. So yeah, I can't wait to sort of try it out there when I get out there. So I think it definitely ticks the boxes there, no issues whatsoever. All right, Wi-Fi router. So you would have heard a lot about the previous Starlink versions and having to have a separate Wi-Fi router that the Starlink dish then plugs into. Then you had to power supply the router, which then for the Starlink dish. So it was a bit problematic and a bit clunky, and that was probably one of the biggest things negativity wise that sort of come out of that one. But I mean, it's all built in. Like, that's the beauty of it. It's crazy. Literally, you just need that and a cable to a power supply, and that's all you need. So from that point of view, again, big thumbs up. So that's covered. All right, power supply. So based on the specs on the website, you simply need to have a 100 watt connection. So it operates anywhere between 12 volts and 48 volts. So most of the stuff in the Australian market is in the 12 volt range. When you're looking at sort of RVs and caravans, it can go up to, you know, that 24 volt or potentially 48 volt setup. But it sort of covers every gambit. But as long as you're getting 100 watts out of your connection. So with the brick, so like I said, I've got the inverter, so I've got the ability to just plug it into 240 volts, but then it basically just, it throttles it down, and then you lose a bit of performance there. So the best way is to simply run it straight into a 12 volt connection. And like I said, in my setup, I've got basically multiple batteries with 12 volt supplies in the front of the vehicle and in the rear of the vehicle. There's plenty of cables out there where you can purchase a cable that has this end and an Anderson plug at the other end. So depending on whether or not you've got Anderson plugs in your car, so you can basically just pop in your Anderson plug into your 12 volt connection. And again, as long as you're able to get up to 100 watts through that connection, you're laughing, okay? And again, I say 100 watts, but most of the people out there are saying that, you know, probably maybe 60 watts on startup, and then maybe somewhere between 20 and 40 whilst they've been using it. So that's the general consensus, but if you just make sure that you've got 100, no worries. So what I've also purchased, and this is the things you need to plan for when you purchase your satellite dish, go and check out, and again, obviously I'll tell you all the bits and pieces you'll need, but go online, go check out Amazon, go check out eBay, go check out Alibaba, Temu if you're interested or whatever. So I've then purchased a cable which has the barrel connector on it, exactly the same waterproof fitting, but then it also has a USB-C connector at the other end. Okay, so I got these from Amazon. I'll pop the link. I'll pop the link below in the description. Now, this one in particular, I only got 1.5 meter cable, and the reason for this was because where I'm planning on permanently mounting it on the roof, I literally only need 1.5 meters to get it to where I need to power it, okay? I don't have any USB-C ports in my car. I've got plenty of USB ports in the front and the back, so I need to upgrade those. So then what I've also then purchased is the 3-port cigarette lighter. Now you can't just use any 3-port cigarette lighter. So this one I've purchased again off Amazon. I'll pop the links below. And this has a USB-C-A, a USB-C-C, and a USB-C again, okay? Now the maximum power output you need to make sure is at least 100 watts, okay? So this has got a 130 watt output, but you also need to be mindful. You also need to be mindful at the way they split the 130 watts, okay? You need to make sure that the one that is powering your Starlink has at least 100 watts on that one USB-C port, okay? Be very mindful of this. Or it might be 50, 50 and 30, okay? That's not going to tick the boxes for the requirements. You need to at least have the USB-C port putting out 100 watts. So I'll test this one and let you know if it's any good. Again, they're pretty cheap and cheerful. There's plenty of them out there, but you just got to check the detail, okay? Other things to be mindful of is with your USB-C cables, make sure that they can output 100 watts also. There's a lot of cheap and cheerful, you know, USB-C cables and whatnot, and I mean, I dare say you should be fine, because these, again, you've got the barrel jack into the USB-C. That's quite a rare connection. So just make sure that it does deliver 100 watt and it is suited for the panel. And then like I showed you earlier, I'm using the camera tripod. So make sure, again, I'll leave it in the description below. You put something like that. Again, you can use a pole, whatever you set up. Again, for myself in the 4-wheel drive, it'll be perfect for sort of my uses. Otherwise, again, it might sit on the bottom of the car or that, but I've got a white car, so putting this white thing on the white bonnet, I might end up driving off somewhere. And that's one of the reasons I will be using a tripod, okay? Again, I'll pop up some photos as I'm chatting now, but all sorts of horror stories in relation to around camp, people having the satellite dishes put in all sorts of weird places. Again, people driving off, things sliding off their 4-wheel drives or their cars, people having them on the ground and being driven over. So these are the things you need to be mindful of, okay? Again, it's a relatively expensive item, and yeah, you don't want to damage it. All right, durability wise. Now, like I said, like anything, you drop it on hard surfaces and stuff like that, there's a good chance you're going to break it. What my plans are is, again, it is waterproof, okay? But because I plan on permanently mounting it to the car, I plan on actually covering it with a silicone case, okay? So the silicone case is going to cover the top of the surface, it's going to cover all the way around the sides. I'm not necessarily worried about the back here, but more so around the sides, because the way I plan on mounting it, I need to basically make sure I allow for heavy vibration driving on corrugations. So that's a bit of a concern for me, because a lot of the 4-wheel driving I do. So when I design the mount for it, I'll be sort of taking that into consideration, okay? Plus, it is going to be sitting out there in rain, and I still want to be able to use it. I don't want to have to stop and rush and, you know, rip it off the roof or whatever. So I'm just going to give it that little extra area of protection with the silicone covers. Again, my understanding is the silicone covers don't affect performance of it at all. Again, if you know otherwise, please let us know in the comments. But that's my understanding. There's quite a few silicone covers on the market. Some cover the top of the unit, some only cover around the outside, okay? So that's my plans. I think the units are very well designed. Again, I've heard pretty much positive things in relation to the unit and how it's sort of held up durability wise. For me, the biggest concern will be how it goes with corrugations. 4-wheel driving, I'm not really worried about, rock crawling and so forth. You're going at low speeds and sort of low impacts. But when you're traveling at 100 kilometers an hour and this thing constantly vibrating, there's this one stretch of road that we're going to be doing, and we're talking potentially 1,000 kilometers of corrugation. So I'll let you know when I get back from the trip how it went. It's going to be a big trip. It's, I think, 7,500 k's in total around Australia. It's definitely going to get a really big workout over the next 6 months or so. So once I finish that big trip, I'll do a full video on sort of how it performed in all these various different places around Australia and all the different terrain sort of I've taken it on. So where can you use this thing? So I'm obviously based in Australia. I'm in Victoria. So basically you can use it anywhere in the island of Australia, okay? Inland waterways, when you're mobile, when you're driving, like I said, you can be driving up to 160 kilometers per hour, apparently, and the satellite dish is still going to work. Whether or not you get a solid connection that whole way through, I've heard sort of, mixed results. I mean, obviously, if you're watching videos and Netflix and so forth, it does buffer quite a bit. So there's a good chance that if you did lose connection, you wouldn't even notice it, okay? And then the beauty of it as well, like I mentioned earlier, is that if you go to another country, and I'll pop up the map on the screen now, Starlink isn't available in every country around the world. But luckily enough now they've enabled it, so if you do travel to other countries, you can take the Starlink with you and you can use it for up to 2 months. So if you're planning a big trip and you're going away for up to 2 months, you can take the Starlink with you and you can use it, which is fantastic. There was a lot of restrictions in the early days, and I think now there is enough satellites in the sky to be able to cope with this. And there's obviously the latest new generation of Starlink satellites out there as well, which is enabled this all to happen. I mean, you can already see Starlink's being used absolutely everywhere now. Again, it is the internet of the future. It'll come a time where cable internet, like, forget about it. And then the only limitations there are, I believe, in relation to marine. So you can only use it a limited amount of kilometres away offshore into the ocean. So I'll drop it up on the screen now, the distances in the air. I'll find out what the limitations are. I'll pop it up on the screen. But I'm not sure, again, if you've got your own little private aircraft, whether or not you can use it when you're flying. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure of the airspeed of planes, whether or not they're going faster than 160 kilometers per hour. Obviously big jumbo jets are, but little Cessnas, not quite sure. But yeah, bloody amazing. All right, and then the last thing on the list is plans. So for the Australian market, we're talking $80 a month at the moment for a 50 gig plan. And the benefit of that, because if you're not sure how much you're going to use it, you've got the option of going for the 50 gig plan, and for every gig after that, it's $1 a gig, okay? Or you can go to the unlimited plan, which at the moment it's sitting somewhere around the $180 mark for the unlimited plan. You can use some ridiculous amount of users at one time. I think it's 128 users. I'll pop it up on the screen, but yeah, 128 users at one time. Again, I'm not sure how it's going to perform. Yeah, again, if you've got the family out there, 3 or 4 kids or whatever, and mum and dad or family and friends, they can all be using it at the same time. Again, you can only have so much bandwidth and everyone sharing at the one time. So as long as everyone's not streaming movies, I think it should be fine. And again, I'll have a video on that and sort of how that sort of all pans out. So hopefully that's answered a lot of the questions you might have had. There will be, again, plenty of future videos on this being used out in the field, the mounting of the units itself, me taking it hiking and backpacking. It's going to get definitely a big workout. Go back to the channel and look for these videos. And again, there's a whole heap of content. I've got quite a diverse channel. A lot of it revolves around four-wheel drive setup, camping, touring, again, mountain biking, hiking. There's a lot of outdoor stuff and even a lot of DIY stuff around the house. So go check it out, and as per usual, again, give us a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Any questions, drop them in the comments. And yeah, really enjoying pumping out the videos. I've been having a good run of late. I've just purchased a new iPad, and that's enabled me to basically take my iPad with me on these trips and have the flexibility to basically film, edit these videos sort of all on the go. So, and again, I'm just recording this stuff on my iPhone, a Rode mic and my iPad for editing. So I just record everything on the phone, uploads to the cloud, automatically downloads to the iPad, and that night I've edited it, pumped it out that night. So yeah, it's been fantastic and really enjoying it. And again, with my videos, they tend to be a little bit long-winded, but again, I go into a lot of detail. I know for myself when I'm searching through these videos, often I've got to watch a dozen different videos to work out and get everything that I need to know, whereas I try to be as comprehensive as possible and take you through all the little nitty-gritty stuff. So anyway, enough apologising. All right, I shall see you in the next video, and again, go check out the channel. All right, cheers guys, bye.